Let us learn about parameter passing. Already I have covered this in the previous videos, but let us learn it as a separate topic. For understanding parameter passing, we have to be familiar with few terms. So first I will explain you few terms, then I will show you how parameter passing is done in Java. So for explaining terms, I have an example program here. Let me explain you this program. I have not written it as a complete executable code. Not a class is not there. Just a main method and add method is there. Add method will take two numbers, integer numbers, and add them and return the result. Main method is having two variables and one more variable C. Two variables are having the values, and it will call add method by sending these two values. It will add them and return the result. Result is taken in C and the result is displayed. So here main method is having two values and itself it is not adding, it is taking the help of this add method. So here add is a separate method and main is a separate method. And the main is calling add method. So this you can say method call. You can call it as method call. From here the method is called. This method is called. So whoever is calling a method is called as a calling method or caller. So who is a caller here? Main is a calling method. To whom it is calling? Add. So add is a called method. It's a called method. We use this type of terms. So calling method means you should understand, or called method also you should understand. So calling method is main and called method is add. Next, here it is passing two values a, b. These are called as parameters or arguments, and here it is taking this as parameter. So those are parameters or arguments. Both are called as parameters or arguments. Now how to differentiate them? So we say these are formal parameters. Formal parameters. In short, I will write param here, and these are called as actual parameters. So the parameters passed in the method call, that is inside the calling method, are called as actual parameters, and the parameters of a called method, the actual method, are called as formal parameters. So this is the method and its parameters are called as formal parameters. Then there is one more term used here. See, this add method is going to add two numbers. So it needs input. So these parameters are nothing but input to a method. Then after getting the result, it will return the result. So this is the return type. So this is also called as output of a method, right? So this is input and that is output. So these are the terms. We learn about calling method, caller method, or called method, actual parameters and formal parameters. Now we will learn how parameter passing is done, how these parameters are passed, So listen carefully. There is only one method of parameter passing in Java. There is only one method. What is the method? The contents of actual parameters are copied in formal parameters. That's all. Contents of actual parameters, whatever the contents are, that are copied in formal parameters. So diagrammatically I will draw it and show you. See, there are three variables here, a and b and c. A and b are having the values 10 and 5, right? Then when this method is called, it is having three variables, x, y and z. I have taken all three variables, okay? Then when this is calling the method add by passing a and b, so the content of a, which is 10, is copied in first parameter. So this is 10 is copied here. Then 5 is copied in this one. See, the contents of this actual parameters are copied in formal parameters. That's all, whatever the contents were. Now if this method is called, then this is copied, then this will add these two values and 15, and the result is returned. So this result will come into this C as we are taking in C. So this is 15. So this value was copied in X and this value was copied in Y. So that's it. So there is only one method, that is the content of actual parameters are copied in formal parameters. So this is over. Now here I have one more example. Let us study the example first. I have a main method and it is having a string, and there is some name, that is Victor is the name, and it is calling a method welcome. And this is a welcome method, and it is displaying a message here, welcome Mr. or Miss, whatever is passed here. So this is the input, or this is the formal parameter, and here is the actual parameter. But if you observe, these are primitive type variables, integer type variables, primitives. But this is a string object. So the difference in that one and this one is, those are primitives like integer, character, float, double, all the data types. But this is a object. Then how objects are passed? Same thing, the contents of actual parameters will be copied in formal parameters. So let us see this diagrammatically. What does it mean and how it will work? See, main method is having one string, reference name is name, and it is holding, or you can say pointing to a string object, that is Victor. It is having a content, that is Victor. So what is a variable? Name is a variable here, and that is an object. It's a reference to an object. So name is which type of variable? Reference type of variable. Reference to what? A string object. So actual parameter is this one. Now when this method is called, here we have formal parameter, that is also a string, and the n is a reference of type string. So it's a variable of type reference. These were the variables of type primitive. These are the variables of type reference to string object. So this formal parameter n, this is just a reference. Yes. Now let us see the working. As I said that whenever a method is called, the content of actual parameter are copied in formal parameter, this one. So what is there in this one? It's a reference to this object. So you can say it is like storing the address of the object. Yes. So here is the address of the object. Then content of actual parameters are copied in formal parameters. So what is copied from here? Address. So whose address? This object's address. So it will also refer to the same object. See, this is how that n will not create a new object, but it will refer to the same object that actually exists inside the main method. It belongs to main method. So only the contents of reference are copied in that reference. That's all. Object is not created. If you see, the difference here is that the value was copied. So this was 10. So 10 is copied there. But here the value is copied from here. That is nothing but address. So address is copied. Yes. But object is common. Single object is there. So here if you see, when this is adding two values, which values it is adding? These two values, not these, not these. But here if you see, when it is printing a message and it is using n, so which object it is using? It is not having its own object. It is using the same object. So object remains single copy only, but there are two references holding that same object. So the conclusion is, in both the cases, the contents of actual parameters copied in formal, contents of actual copied in formal. But here that was value, data is copied. So that same data is used. Here it was reference. So reference is copied. So let us say address, right? Address of this object. So it is copied, but it is not having its own object. It is using the same object, and contents are copied. So the same mechanism. So as I said, there is a single method of parameter passing in Java. The contents of actual parameters are copied in formal parameters. But if the people are coming from C++, they believe that there are two parameter passing methods like call by value and call by address. So they want to see this as separate, that this is called by values are passed, and this is called by address like, or call by reference. There is no address or pointer in Java. So calling it address will not be suitable, but for explanation I told you it's an address. So say reference. So this is called by reference. So people say call by value, call by reference. So it means that primitives are passed by value, objects are passed by reference. So we can also say it like this, but basically there is only one method, that is just parameter passing is there in Java. Right? So we cannot name the method also, just parameter passing, that's all. Don't say by value, by reference or by address, no need of naming. For explanation you can say here the values are copied and here reference is copied, because its reference is also a value. So that's all about parameter passing. I have explained you in detail. So mostly in interviews or that is Viva Voce, they ask this type of question, how many parameter passing method. So you can say Java doesn't have different methods, just it is parameter passing. Now we don't say call by value also, call by reference also, nothing will say, parameters are passed, so the contents are passed. That's it.